Imagine waking up each day with a sense of purpose so deep, so unwavering, that no matter the challenges, you stand firm, knowing you're walking in a path designed just for you. Picture yourself facing life's uncertainties with an inner peace that nothing can shake. Can you feel the strength that rises in the face of adversity? The unwavering gratitude for every blessing, no matter how big or small, and the kindness that flows from your heart without hesitation? What if I told you that these aren't just ideals or distant dreams, but signs that you, as a woman, are walking in God's blessings? Today, we're going to explore 8 signs that prove just that. You are living in the overflow of God's goodness. These signs are not meant to be lofty goals, but truths that already exist in your life, perhaps unnoticed. The peace, strength, and love you carry are not mere coincidences. They are the fingerprints of divine blessings, and they are here to remind you that you are exactly where you need to be. Ready to recognize them? Let's take a journey together to uncover how God's blessings are already at work in your life. A woman walking in God's blessings is deeply anchored in her faith, which becomes the bedrock of her life. She understands that the path she walks is not by chance, but is part of a divine purpose that has been set out for her from the very beginning. This faith is not a shallow belief that everything will go according to plan, but a firm trust in God's wisdom and timing, even when things are unclear or difficult. Faith in God's purpose is not about simply believing in His existence. It's about understanding and embracing the idea that God has a plan for every aspect of her life. The woman who walks in God's blessings doesn't just go through the motions of life. Instead, she recognizes that each day, each decision, and each challenge is an opportunity to fulfill God's purpose for her. When setbacks arise, she doesn't lose hope or succumb to frustration. She knows that these moments are not obstacles, but rather lessons that are shaping her into the person God has destined her to be. She may not always see the bigger picture, but she trusts that God does, and she surrenders her will to His. This faith is tested in many ways. Life is unpredictable, and things often don't unfold as planned. When a woman is walking in God's blessings, she encounters moments of doubt, fear, and confusion, just like anyone else. But what sets her apart is her response to these challenges. Instead of turning away from God or becoming disillusioned, she holds tighter to her faith. She believes that God's timing is perfect and that His plans for her life are always for good, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. Whether she's facing a career setback, a personal loss, or a season of waiting, her faith doesn't waver because she knows that God is at work in ways she cannot always see or understand. Walking in faith also means relying on God's strength rather than her own. This doesn't mean that she doesn't put in effort or work hard, but rather that she understands that the true source of her success, peace, and joy comes from God. She acknowledges that on her own she may fall short, but through Him she can overcome any challenge. When things seem impossible, she chooses to trust that with God, all things are possible. This trust empowers her to take bold steps in faith, knowing that He is with her every step of the way. Moreover, a woman walking in God's blessings doesn't just rely on faith in a theoretical or abstract sense. She actively nurtures and deepens her relationship with God. She seeks Him in prayer, reads His Word, and listens for His guidance. This relationship is the lifeline that sustains her. It's not a one-time event, but a continuous journey where her faith grows stronger each day as she experiences God's presence, grace, and faithfulness in her life. Her trust in God's purpose also gives her the courage to step out in boldness. She understands that she doesn't need to have all the answers or a clear roadmap to move forward. When God calls her to something, whether it's a new opportunity, a leap of faith, or a decision that seems risky, she steps out with confidence, knowing that God's purpose for her life will unfold in His perfect timing. Even when fear and uncertainty arise, she is secure in the knowledge that God is leading her and that His plan for her is always good. This deep-rooted faith shapes her every action, decision, and interaction, and it's through this unwavering trust in God's purpose that she is truly walking in His blessings. A woman walking in God's blessings is marked by an inner peace that transcends her circumstances. This peace is not dependent on external factors such as the success of her career, her relationships, or the smoothness of her day-to-day life. Instead, it comes from a deep assurance that God is with her, guiding her through every moment, no matter how chaotic or uncertain the world around her may seem. This peace is a manifestation of her trust in God's plan for her life, and it becomes a stabilizing force in her heart and mind, even during the storms of life. In moments of uncertainty, when the weight of the world threatens to overwhelm her, she does not succumb to panic or anxiety. While others may react to challenges with stress or fear, she remains calm, knowing that God is in control. She understands that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of God in her life, a peace that surpasses human understanding. It's a peace that allows her to rest in the knowledge that she is not facing life's challenges alone. Even when things don't go according to plan, she knows that God's purposes are always greater than her own, and He works all things together for her good. This peace is often evident in her demeanor. Even in stressful situations, she exudes a sense of calm and confidence, not because she has it all figured out, but because she knows that God's presence is enough to carry her through. She can be in the middle of a crisis, whether it's a personal hardship, a professional setback, or an unexpected change, and still maintain an unwavering sense of peace. This peace is not something she creates on her own, but rather it is a gift from God that fills her heart and mind, even when her circumstances seem difficult or overwhelming. It's a peace that comes from knowing that God's promises are true and that He is working everything out for her good. This inner peace also brings a sense of clarity. When faced with tough decisions or moments of confusion, a woman walking in God's blessings can access the peace that allows her to hear God's voice more clearly. Rather than being clouded by stress or anxiety, she is able to approach situations with calm discernment, trusting that God will lead her to the right path. She may not always have all the answers immediately, but her peace enables her to trust in God's timing and wisdom. Additionally, this peace affects her relationships with others. She is able to be a source of comfort and calm to those around her, whether in her family, her workplace, or her community. When others are anxious, stressed, or fearful, her peace becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness and presence in her life. She is able to offer encouragement and support not from a place of her own strength, but from the abundant peace that God has placed within her. The peace that she experiences is also a constant reminder of God's love and provision. It serves as a reassurance that no matter what life throws her way, she is never alone. She has a deep, unshakable confidence that God's hand is upon her, guiding her steps and holding her steady. This peace is not fleeting or temporary, but a lasting gift that remains with her through all of life's ups and downs. It's a peace that when others look at her, they can't help but notice. It's evident in her calmness, her resilience, and her ability to face life with grace and composure. A woman walking in God's blessings demonstrates strength that is not merely physical, but deeply spiritual and emotional. Her strength is not something that comes from her own abilities or willpower, but from her reliance on God's power, grace, and sustaining presence in her life. In the face of adversity, she rises above challenges with a resilience that defies the circumstances, knowing that God equips her to endure and overcome whatever comes her way. Life is full of trials, and no one is exempt from the difficulties it presents. A woman walking in God's blessings does not live a life free from struggle. In fact, her strength is forged through the very trials she faces. When the storms of life hit, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a broken relationship, financial struggles, or personal health issues, she doesn't crumble under the weight. Instead, she holds her head up and faces each day with unwavering courage. Her strength is seen in her ability to keep going, even when the path seems impossible. And she chooses to trust that God will carry her through. She understands that these trials are not meant to defeat her, but to refine her character and build her faith. Her strength is also evident in her perseverance. Life doesn't always unfold as expected, and often she finds herself in situations where the answer or solution is not immediately clear. But a woman walking in God's blessings does not give up easily. She presses forward, holding on to the hope that God has a plan for her, even when the road is long and difficult. Her persistence is fueled by a deep belief that her efforts are not in vain, and that God is using every struggle for a greater purpose. It is this unyielding determination that keeps her moving forward, even when the weight of the world seems to be pressing down on her. This strength is also reflected in her ability to forgive and heal. The challenges she faces are not always external. There are times when the hurt comes from others. A woman walking in God's blessings is often faced with betrayal, misunderstanding, or disappointment. But rather than letting bitterness take root in her heart, she chooses forgiveness. She recognizes that holding on to anger or resentment only weighs her down and prevents her from walking in the fullness of God's blessings. Her strength is seen in her capacity to release hurt and move forward with grace, knowing that forgiveness is an essential part of her healing process. Moreover, the strength of a woman walking in God's blessings is not solely for her own benefit, but also for others. She is a pillar of support to those around her, whether it's in her family, community, or workplace. She lifts others up with her words, actions, and prayers, offering strength to those who are struggling. When others are weak, she becomes their source of encouragement, a reminder that God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. Her ability to be a source of support to others while remaining steadfast in her own faith reflects the overflow of God's strength in her life. Her strength is not a fleeting or fragile thing. It is a constant, sustained by her deep connection to God. She knows that she is not alone, and that with God on her side, she is more than capable of handling whatever challenges life throws at her. This strength is an enduring testament to the power of God at work within her, and it continues to shine through in every difficult season she faces, proving that her strength is not of her own making, but a reflection of the blessings and grace that God has placed upon her life. A woman walking in God's blessings carries with her an unwavering sense of gratitude and contentment, which serves as a powerful testimony to the work God is doing in her life. This gratitude is not something that is contingent upon her circumstances, but rather a deep-rooted attitude of thankfulness that stems from her understanding of God's goodness and provision. She recognizes that everything she has, her talents, her relationships, her opportunities, and even the challenges she faces, is a blessing from God, and she makes a conscious effort to give thanks for it all. Gratitude for this woman is not just about saying thank you for the obvious blessings. It's about recognizing the beauty in the small, everyday things that so often go unnoticed. She finds joy in the simple moments: a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, the beauty of nature, or even the opportunity to face another day. She understands that God's blessings are not always found in grand, miraculous events, but are often woven into the fabric of everyday life. She is intentional about cultivating a heart of thankfulness for these seemingly small moments, knowing that when she expresses gratitude for the little things, it opens her heart to receive even more of God's goodness. Contentment is closely linked to her gratitude. The woman walking in God's blessings is not defined by what she doesn't have, but by the peace and joy that come from being content with what God has provided. In a world that constantly tells us to strive for more, to never be satisfied, she chooses to be content. She finds fulfillment in the present moment, trusting that God knows exactly what she needs and when she needs it. This doesn't mean she doesn't have goals or desires, but rather that her sense of worth and peace does not depend on achieving them. She finds satisfaction in the fact that God's timing is perfect and that everything she needs will come to her in His perfect timing. Her contentment also comes from knowing that God's blessings are not just material or tangible things. While she is grateful for the blessings of health, family, and resources, she also values the spiritual and emotional blessings that God bestows upon her. She knows that peace, love, joy, and hope are priceless gifts that cannot be measured by earthly standards, and she cherishes these intangible blessings just as much as the more visible ones. She understands that true contentment comes not from external circumstances, but from an inner sense of security and trust in God's provision. This sense of contentment radiates outward and affects her relationships with others. The woman walking in God's blessings is not consumed by jealousy, comparison, or envy. She is content with the life she has been given and is happy for others' successes without feeling threatened. Her gratitude allows her to celebrate the victories of those around her, knowing that God's blessings are not finite and that there is more than enough to go around. She is generous with her time, her love, and her resources, not because she has to be, but because her heart is overflowing with the gratitude she feels for what God has already given her. Even in the midst of challenges, this woman chooses to focus on what she has rather than what she lacks. When things don't go as planned, instead of becoming bitter or resentful, she chooses to be thankful for the lessons that adversity brings. She knows that even in times of struggle, God is working in her life and that these moments will ultimately lead to growth, transformation, and greater understanding. Her gratitude is a reflection of her faith in God's plan for her life, and it is this gratitude that opens the door for even more blessings to flow into her life. A woman walking in God's blessings exemplifies kindness and compassion, not only because it is a reflection of her character, but because she understands that these qualities are essential elements of God's love working through her. She is a living testament of the grace and mercy that God has shown to her, and she actively extends that same love to everyone she encounters. Her kindness is not just about polite gestures or formal acts. It's a deep, heartfelt desire to make others feel seen, heard, and valued. It's a love that doesn't discriminate based on who someone is or what they can offer in return. She treats everyone with respect and dignity, reflecting God's unconditional love for all people. Her compassion goes beyond just empathy. It drives her to action. When someone is in need, whether it's emotional support, practical help, or a listening ear, she responds with a genuine willingness to help. She doesn't hesitate to go out of her way to lend a hand, offer a word of encouragement, or provide comfort in times of distress. She feels the pain of others as her own and seeks to ease that burden, not for personal recognition, but because she knows it is what God would do. This level of compassion comes from a deep understanding that she too has been shown immense mercy and love by God, and in turn, she seeks to be a vessel of that same mercy to others. Her kindness is also seen in her ability to forgive. In a world that often encourages people to hold grudges, seek revenge, or build walls around their hearts, the woman walking in God's blessings chooses to extend forgiveness, even when it is difficult. She understands that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning wrongdoing, but it is a choice to release bitterness and let go of the weight of resentment. Through forgiveness, she experiences a freedom that allows her to move forward in peace, and she offers that same freedom to those who have wronged her. Her compassion is not based on the merit of others, but on the understanding that everyone is in need of grace, just as she is. Her kindness is not selective. It extends to all people, regardless of their background, status, or beliefs. She doesn't reserve her compassion only for those who are easy to love or for those who can repay her in some way. Instead, she offers her love freely to the stranger, the outsider, the person who has been overlooked, and the person who may never be able to give anything back. She knows that God loves everyone, and she seeks to reflect that love in her daily interaction. Whether it's a smile to a stranger, a word of encouragement to a colleague, or a helping hand to someone in need, her actions are a constant reminder of God's love at work in her life. This compassion also manifests in her ability to see beyond surface-level issues and understand the deeper struggles that people face. She doesn't judge others based on their behavior or appearance, but instead she seeks to understand the circumstances that may have shaped their lives. She looks at people with eyes of grace and strives to offer empathy rather than criticism. Her kindness encourages others to open up and be their true selves without fear of rejection or judgment. She creates a space where people feel safe, loved, and accepted just as they are, a reflection of the welcoming love that God extends to all of His children. In her interactions, she also fosters an environment of healing. Her kindness and compassion are often the balm that soothes the emotional wounds of others. When someone is hurting, feeling lost, or battling inner turmoil, she is often the one who offers a word of hope or a shoulder to lean on. It is through her compassion that others experience God's love and feel His presence in tangible ways. By embodying kindness, she becomes an instrument of peace and reconciliation, actively helping to mend broken hearts and relationships. A woman walking in God's blessings is deeply aware of her purpose in life, and this awareness shapes the way she lives each day. She doesn't wander aimlessly through life, hoping things will fall into place. Rather, she steps with intention and conviction, fully aware that she is created for a specific reason. This sense of purpose is not something she has to search for desperately, but something she embraces with confidence because she knows that God has a plan for her life, one that is uniquely hers. Her understanding of her purpose guides her actions, decisions, and interactions with others, giving her life a deep sense of meaning and direction. At the core of this sense of purpose is the belief that she is not here by accident. She knows that every talent, gift, and passion she has is a part of the larger plan God has for her. Whether she is a mother, a teacher, an entrepreneur, a caregiver, or a community leader, she embraces her role wholeheartedly. She recognizes that each role she plays is significant and meaningful in God's eyes, no matter how big or small the task may seem to the world. Her purpose is not measured by societal standards of success, but by the ways in which she is fulfilling God's calling in her life. She sees every aspect of her work, whether at home or in the workplace, as an opportunity to honor God and make a positive impact in the lives of others. This purpose-driven life is also reflected in her relationships. A woman walking in God's blessings understands that her interactions with others are not coincidental. She approaches relationships with a sense of intentionality, seeking to encourage, uplift, and support those around her. She is mindful of the impact her words and actions have on others, and she strives to be a source of positivity and light. Whether she is spending time with family, building friendships, or collaborating with colleagues, she sees these connections as part of her divine purpose. She recognizes that her purpose is not just about her personal success or fulfillment, but about how she can contribute to the well-being and growth of others as well. Purpose also shapes the way she faces challenges. A woman walking in God's blessings does not shy away from difficulty or adversity. Instead, she views challenges as opportunities to grow stronger in her faith and closer to fulfilling her purpose. She understands that the road to her destiny is not always smooth, and there will be obstacles along the way. However, rather than being discouraged, she sees each difficulty as a lesson that refines her and prepares her for greater things. Her trust in God's plan gives her the courage to face the unknown with confidence, knowing that each step is leading her closer to the fulfillment of her calling. Moreover, this sense of purpose keeps her grounded in her identity. She does not measure her worth by external achievements or the opinions of others. She knows that her value comes from being a child of God, created in His image and loved unconditionally. This understanding of her intrinsic worth allows her to remain steady, even when the world around her may try to define her by fleeting standards. She walks with a quiet confidence, knowing that she is exactly where she needs to be, doing exactly what she was made to do. The woman walking in God's blessings also knows that her purpose is not something she can fulfill on her own. She recognizes that she is part of a larger community, and her purpose is intertwined with the lives of others. She seeks to serve, to help, and to uplift those around her as she walks in her calling. She understands that her purpose is not just about personal fulfillment, but about being a blessing to others, using her gifts and talents to make the world a better place. With every step she takes, she is fulfilling the purpose God has for her life, and in doing so, she becomes a beacon of hope and inspiration to those who cross her path. As we reflect on the 8 signs of a woman walking in God's blessings, it becomes clear that these aren't just external markers, but deep, transformative qualities that flow from a heart anchored in faith, purpose, and love. Each sign is a testament to the grace and power that God has already poured into our lives. The peace we carry, the strength we find in adversity, the gratitude we show in every circumstance, and the compassion we extend to others, all point to the incredible blessings God has bestowed upon us. Walking in God's blessings isn't about perfection or never facing challenges. It's about recognizing His presence in every step, trusting in His plan, and being open to the ways He moves through us. When we embrace our purpose, we not only experience the fullness of His blessings in our own lives, but become conduits of those blessings to the world around us. So take a moment to reflect on how these signs show up in your own life. Whether you've seen them in abundance or they're just beginning to manifest, know this: you are walking in God's blessings, and He is with you every step of the way. Keep trusting, keep growing, and keep shining.